What I'm going to tell you, since time is very short, is an anecdote. It's not my usual talk about this subject. I thought I would do it a bit differently this time. I met a guy on IRC. I don't actually know his name. As you know, IRC is mostly anonymous, so I'll call him Martin. And Martin is a system administrator who has, like, what, a dozen, maybe 20 Tomcat servers in production. And we got to talk, as you do, because he had a problem that every once in a while he would get an SMS message that one of his systems had died. And it's funny how these things never happen during the day, but they're always at 4 a.m. in the morning. If you're any system administrators here, I'm sure you're well aware of this. I see some nodding here. So, being a system administrator, for Martin, the Java applications he was running weren't very visible. He was in the process of rolling out Zabbix. Zabbix is a monitoring tool. Actually, we have the product manager of Zabbix sitting right there. Alexei, if you could raise your hand, please. Zabbix is a monitoring tool, much like the ones you use, like HP OpenView, Munin, Cricket. So it's one of those. I like Zabbix because it's very accessible even for developers such as me, not just to system administrators. Martin was already rolling out Zabbix for all of his servers, but he had not yet found a way to look into the Java processes that he was managing. As you can see in this is the normal stack that you meet when you have a Java process. You have the hardware and the operating system with the JVM on top, with Tomcat in this case on top, and the actual application on top of that. And he could look into the hardware and the operating systems, but not into the rest. So to him, Java is essentially a black box. And frankly, I think that's the good way to do it. I mean, system administrators shouldn't have to learn all of Java. But you do want to have a few specific holes in it, that you can look into the JVM and see things that as a system administrator you need. You don't want to learn all of Java, just about threads and memory and things that help you do your job. The system is very slow. As I spoke to Martin, I noticed that the world of system administration, system administration and Java development was very, very much apart. They're really different worlds, and they're worlds with different tool sets. As a Java developer, I'm used to using JConsole, JMX, Log4j, those tools. That's what I do my work with. But when I spoke to Martin, he knew almost none of them, even though he was a system administrator running several Tomcats. He was used to using, in his case, Zabbix. He was used to monitoring through SNMP and writing scripts to read through the log files. And again, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This separation, in fact, I think if your company is over 5 people, you should have this separation. You should have these two worlds visible and people living each in a separate world. But what you need is that there is a bridge between the two worlds, both at a technical level both at a technical level and at a personal level. And that's my open source project, zapcat, does just that. It links these two worlds technically and I hope also on a personal level. Technically, it ties into JMX on the Java side, and it's a little web application. It comes as a WAR file that you just drop into JBoss or OSA4j or maybe Tomcat. And on the other side, it speaks the Zabbix protocol. So to system administrators, it's nothing more than just another Zabbix agent. And on top of that sits JMX, or the syntax of JMX, allowing system administrators and developers to speak about objects that are present in JMX, speak about memory, speak about garbage collection. So this is the solution that Martin used for his system. There you go. Now he can look into the rest of his systems, into the Tomcats and into the JVMs. Let's make this concrete. I'll make it so concrete. This is what Martin actually did, probably. I mean, I've never met him, but what you do, this is a configuration screen in Zabbix. For those of you who use Zabbix, you know this. This is where you make a new host. Java programs will show up as hosts in Zabbix, as though they were real machines, not just virtual machines. You give it a name, Tomcat. This is the name of my web server. This is actually the configuration of my web server at home. You give it the IP address and the port number that the agent is listening at, and you apply a number of templates, the number 3 in the slide. And these templates help system administrators filter out of all the JMX-enabled information to get just the information they need, or at least some of the information they need to do their jobs. For example, there's the Java template, which tells you about garbage collection in memory. There's the Hibernate template that tells you about session leakage in Hibernate, so you can graph that in Zabbix. And there's the Tomcat template, which does things like HTTP sessions and shows you about worker threads on the various ports. Let's have a look how that looks. For example, this is 1 month of information of my web server again. As you can see, it's pretty much idling. The green line is the amount of memory used. The red line at the top is the maximum memory. And as you can see, you see the familiar sawtooth, at least familiar to Java developers. All right? This is an application that's stressed for memory. And you can see the memory jagging up and down as the garbage collector are struggling for breath. So if you see this as a system administrator, you know that things are wrong. Notice how this is no different from monitoring memory on a regular system, on an operating system. Suddenly it's accessible to both system administrators and Java developers. And it allows you to talk about this. For example, if I were to see this, you'd have to do 2 things as a system administrator. First, give the application more memory, at least for the time being. Second, go speak to your developers and ask them if that memory should be used, and maybe they can optimize a bit. This is an image showing the garbage collectors. Garbage collectors are always a bit magical in the Java world. But if you study them, it's really very simple. When the JVM starts, it picks a strategy, depending on a few parameters. And it always picks 2 garbage collectors. A sloppy one, that's cheap, just runs quickly, but doesn't find all the garbage to collect. And an expensive one, that does find all the garbage that it can collect, but it takes a lot more CPU power to do so. I've graphed the 2 here. You see the green line being the cheap garbage collector, and the red line at the bottom is the expensive garbage collection. And again, this is my website. It's a month of data that you see here. The gray bars are the weekends. And you can see that since this application does have enough memory, it uses just the cheap garbage collector and doesn't spend as much time garbage collecting as it would otherwise. The red garbage collector, the expensive one, is completely ignored on my system. It just does everything with the cheap one. If you look at the same thing for a system that's stressed for memory, this is a little test application that I wrote just to produce this slide. You can see that at some point, Java just gives up on the green, cheap garbage collector and starts using the red one, starts using the expensive one. And now you know that your system is firefighting. You probably see in the memory, you see the jagged line. And you know that you need to do some work. And you get an advanced warning that maybe this system is about to go down. And Zabbix helps you with this. What I've done in the template is put a trigger on the line where the green line and the red lines cross. You get an email or an SMS message when these 2 lines cross. And you know that you have work to do. And hopefully it won't be in the middle of the night. Threads. This is, I seem to move 2 slides every time. This is a view of threads in Java. Threads are like processes. So this is something, again, that system administrators and Java developers can talk about. The red line in this case isn't the maximum number of threads, because threads are essentially unbound in the JVM, but it's the peak number of threads. So So it gives you an idea how many you had at a maximum. And the green is the number of threads currently running. This is from the Java templates. Now if we look at the Tomcat template, it gives you another view of the threads, but it's specific to Tomcat. There you go. This is just a pool of worker threads for port number 80, for the HTTP port. In this case, the red line is the maximum because it's a pool and it's a fixed size pool. And there's the green line at the bottom showing how many threads are actually working. And as you can see, not many people visit my site. One of the reasons I'm here is to get more people to visit my site, see this line go up. So this allows you as a system administrator to look at the number of threads for an application, but also study how these threads are used and if the pools that are being assigned to the HTTP port are large enough and being used efficiently. Let's get back to Martin, because that's why I'm here. That's what I was speaking about, really. This is an actual image that he put in a paste bin for me. For those of you who can't see, it's a bit dark, but at some point, the number of threads, this is the number of threads on his application, just jumps from what? 50 up to 130, 140. And it doesn't go down. And this is over the weekend. The gray bar is not very visible, but you can see this is like Friday, and here Sunday ends. If we zoom in, you can see that it coincides with the SMS message he got that weekend. And this is also where we need to see the need for a bridge between the two worlds. Because the problem that he had was not solvable either by me or by him. Only because we two got to talk about it and used Zabbix and zapcat to make the problem visible, were we able to solve this problem. The actual problem was that at this point in time, the syslog daemons were being restarted. Now I don't know, I didn't know whether or not they were using syslog, but as you know, log4j can also log to syslog. But he didn't know that. So I asked him, look, maybe does your system use syslog for logging? And he went over to his developers, asked the question, and came back with yes, we are using syslog. So then he could reproduce this problem on the test system, but only after I suggested that maybe he could do that. So here you see that only by bringing these two worlds together were we able to crack this problem. So if there's anything I wanted to take home from this talk, I would like to ask you to build bridges like the one I've done, preferably using Zabbix and zapcat, of course. Thank you very much.